one. All right, Emma, you were with us last time. What did we do last time? We introduced Ford, right? And we did all this stuff, all the environmental stuff.
Wasn't Ford like, he was put into power, but no one really elected him, so everyone was just kind of like, I don't like you. Plus, like, he's dealing with all the crap left from Nixon and all that lovely corruption.
Yeah. Ford, by all accounts, Ford's a pretty decent guy, like a pretty nice guy, not very corrupt, but America never really forgave him for being, Nixon's guy, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so so we've talked about, let's go into our next big number. Our next big number is going to be deindustrialization. So I've mentioned a bunch of times how like the economy was really bad in the 1970s, how it was really bad in the 1970s, how Americans were pretty upset about things, right? Well, let's get into some of the details here, because the 1970s is one of the worst decades for the American economy ever, basically. Okay. All right. So do either of you guys know what deindustrialization means? What that word mean?
Taking apart or reversing industrialization.
Okay. So it's not that. It's not like, well, okay, so you are shutting down factories, but you're not going backwards in progression. Okay. So deindustrialization is the point where the number of factory workers in a country begins to decline, where the number of factory workers in a country begins to decline. At the same time, the output of factories increases. The output of factories increases. Okay, so this is a point where the number of factory workers is starting to decline. At the beginning of the 60s, somewhere around 50% of Americans worked in a factory of some kind, somewhere around 50%. Okay, by the time we get to 1990, that number is going to be down below 10%. Today, the number is somewhere around 5 or 6%. Okay, and that's the number of Americans working in factories. And the reason, well, can you guys figure out what's the reason why this is happening? Because it seems kind of weird, right? The number of workers going down, but the output is going up. So what's happening?
A lot of them working in the factories. I mean, when you take out like half the people.
A lot of what? What did you say?
Women.
No, women are people, Sam. Women are people. Women count as people. Yeah, it's really important to me that you know that, Sam. That's a really important part of this class. Okay, what else?
Probably like the bettering of technologies and stuff, and people
There we go.
making it better. Yeehaw, automation.
Automation, woo.
Yeehaw, automation, yeah. So yeah, Emma's absolutely correct, and she also did not insult womankind. So that's good. Yeah, so in your notes, put in there that deindustrialization is caused by an increase in computerization and machines, better machines. It's an increase in computerization and the better machines, right? And if you think about this, like when Henry Ford was running his car factories in the 19-teens, right? His car factories in Detroit would produce something like 100 cars a day, right? And they employed like 5,000 employees producing 100 cars a day. Today, the largest car factory, I'm pretty sure the largest car factory in the world is a Toyota plant down in Texas. And the Toyota plant down in Texas can produce like 20,000 cars a week, right? 20,000 cars a week, and it only employs like 200 employees, right? And that factory, that one factory in Texas produces as many cars as the entire state of Michigan did, back in the 1920s. And so that factory can run 24 hours a day. It's almost completely automated, right? Humans aren't really part of the process in a lot of cases, right? The humans are just, kind of a middle part. Hey, we're getting another person coming in. And so the humans aren't really part of the process. The factories are so much more efficient that the factories, can just do whatever they want, right? What's the disadvantage? So let's put advantages. The advantages of deindustrialization is what? What do we put as advantages?
There's more product. Oh, sorry.
You go.
Sorry, Emma, you go first.
Oh.
What did you say?
Just like more products that can be sold.
Yeah. So more stuff. So under our say under the in your notes where you say the advantages, right? So more products. Okay. What else? What else can you say about the products?
It's going to be cheaper to make things because you aren't employing as many people.
Yep, a lot cheaper. A lot cheaper. Okay. Is the quality of products going to go up or down?
Down.
No, usually it's up. It's a lot more up. It's a lot more up, right? Because it's so much cheaper, because it's so much faster, you can make better and better stuff. Think about the quality television you have in your house versus the quality of television that like my grandma had in her house.
Okay.
Right? Like a television from the 1960s versus a television today, right? It's just a lot better, right? Or like a smartphone today compared to a phone, back in the day, or even a computer back in the day, right? A computer when I was a high school student is like 1/100th of your smartphone, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, your smartphone is something like 500 times the computing power of the like Apollo space mission.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. So anyway, you get more stuff, you get better quality stuff, and you get it for cheaper. Okay. All of that's really, really good. What's the disadvantage of deindustrialization?
Would it be like that more people are unemployed?
Yeah. A lot of people are unemployed. Right. So you're going to cause massive worker displacement that's like the official term we use is worker displacement. Right. So we're talking people going unemployed. Massive number of people going unemployed. Right. And it happens in specific areas. Okay. So it's not unemployment spread out over the entire country. It's unemployment spread out over a specific population in a specific area. In the case of the United States, it's this area here, the yellow. It's the Rust Belt. Okay. The Rust Belt. So you need to define Rust Belt in your notes. And the Rust Belt is the Great Lakes area, which includes these states. Okay. I'll give you the names. I'll give you the names of the states. Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Pennsylvania, New York. Okay. All of these states are going to experience massive unemployment, massive urban decay. As soon as all these people, and we're talking usually men, as soon as these men start losing their jobs, the state is faced with a couple of different problems. Okay. The first problem is no taxes, right? If they're not working, they're not paying taxes. And as soon as the state budget gets cut and the state can't pay for its schools and libraries and fixing roads and police forces and fire departments and all that other stuff, right? So all of those services are going to go down in quality and quantity. The second problem is you're faced with a large segment of your population that you need to retrain into a new job. Now, a typical factory worker at this time period in the 1970s is going to be a man who's about 40 years old, married, and has 3 kids. Okay? A man of a father of 3, married, somewhere around 40 years old or so, and he never graduated. He didn't go to college. He didn't go to college, and only about half of the workers graduated high school. What are you going to do with that guy? If you're Governor Emma and Governor Sam, what are you guys going to do with him?
Food.
Yeah, you can give him food.
Retail. Like retail jobs.
Sure.
Like he could be a grocery bagger. He could work at the McDonald's.
Yeah. Is that going to pay for his house? Is that going to pay for his house and kids?
No.
Not really, no, right? And most factory workers are going from, if I'm using modern day dollars, right, the factory is going from about $25 an hour down to bagging groceries for $7.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The problem is the real answer is that all the workers need to be retrained into something else. You need to train them into like some kind of high-tech job or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how realistic is that as an option for like a father of 3 in his 40s who barely graduated high school? Is that a really realistic option? Not really, right? The other option is you move him somewhere where he can get a job, right? Again, is that a very good option? Not really, right?
Eventually, deindustrialization will come to where he was moved.
Well, yeah, eventually it hits everyone,
Yeah.
right? Plus, you're displacing his wife and kids too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he has a house that he has to sell, but the property values have dropped, and so now he can't even sell his house for money, right? Now his house is worth less than it was. You see, this is the problem of the 1970s. The United States was facing this problem across the entire country in the 1970s. Right? The United States was facing this problem across the entire 1970s, and this was a huge, huge deal. And the result was that unemployment was on the rise, and the American economy was not doing good through the whole time. All right. Let's introduce you to the next president, who's also going to suck. But we'll give you the next president, and then we're going to give you some of these other problems. Okay. So better know a president. Next big number. What is this big number? J, is it? J for Jimmy? Nice.
Yeah.
J for Jimmy Carter. So Jimmy Carter is a peanut farmer who became the governor of Georgia. A peanut farmer who became a governor of Georgia, and then from governor of Georgia, he became the president. Okay, he's known for basically being president during a time period where the United States economy was garbage, total garbage, and he was not able to fix the problem at all, and it was just terrible, right? He negotiates peace in the Middle East. He does negotiate some peace in the Middle East, and by all accounts, he is like a good man. He has dedicated his life to charity. He's done decades and decades worth of charity work after he got out of office, right? Like he is a good man by any counting that I can come up with, right? The problem is he just sucked as a president. You know, nice guy, good guy, sucked as a president. He just couldn't solve the problem. Yeah. So Jimmy Carter, while he's president, Jimmy is also going to get the oil crises. So this is the next big letter after Jimmy. K, right?
Yes.
All right. So K is the oil crises of the 1970s. We have two of them, one during Nixon and one during Carter. Hey, bull guy. Are you there? Going once, going twice. Hello? Bueller. All right, well. All right, so the oil crisis of the 1970s. Now, this really, really sweet looking flag over here, right? This is a flag for an organization called OPEC. 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 It's the Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries. Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries. Now, it's led by Saudi Arabia, but it includes like United Arab Emirates and Qatar and Bahrain and Kuwait and Libya and Iraq and Iran, right? So it's all these Middle East countries for the most part. And OPEC, in the 1970s, OPEC controls about 2/3 of the world's oil. Now, these are Arab countries for the most part. And the Arab countries, they hate Israel. And Israel and the Arab countries go to war in the 1970s. And the United States sides with Israel. And so, as a punishment to the United States, the Arab countries,
Hello?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. Sorry, my mic wasn't working.
Yeah, it's okay. You're logged in twice now. Do you have a
Yeah.
camera? Do you have a camera?
I don't know how to make it work.
That's okay. I forget what your first name is.
Manuela.
Manuela. Nice to meet you, Manuela. This is Sam and Emma, who you may have seen in all of the videos.
Hey. Nice to meet you too.
Okay, so the United States supports Israel in these wars, and so the Arab countries decide to punish the United States by stopping the exporting of oil. They punish the United States by stopping the exporting of oil. What is that going to do to the price of oil around the world?
Make it skyrocket.
Skyrocket, right? The oil skyrockets. It becomes so expensive. We also run out of oil. The country like literally runs out of oil. There's like lines like this going into the gas stations all through the 1970s. And they have to do rationing of the gas, where you're only allowed to buy like 10 gallons of gas, right? Like if your license plate ends in a 1, 2, 3, 4, you buy it on Monday. If your license plate ends in a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you buy it on Tuesday, right? You're restricted to only 1 day a week or 1 day every 2 weeks, right? And the price of oil goes through the roof. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. What's the biggest disadvantage of the price of oil skyrocketing? There's two really, really big things that are also going to become super expensive.
What else we use oil for?
We use
What
oil
else
to power cars, right?
The cost of transportation would probably rise.
Nice. Manuela hit the number one. The number one big problem is that the cost of transportation is going to rise about 500%.
Wow.
Right? And transportation is every single item in the entire economy, basically. Everything. Okay? Do you know what else you use oil for? Plastic. Everything with plastic also rises about 400 or 500%, including the wrapping on plastic, right? Plastic wrapping and plastic cases and stuff, right? Plastic is just going to become a lot more expensive. So the result here is that the price of like all sorts of items, like the price of milk rises 500% in 10 years, right? The price of food, of everything, of clothes, of cars, of everything, right? So we have deindustrialization making everyone lose their jobs, and we have oil prices making everything more expensive. You see the problem Carter has? Okay, this gets us to the last big letter of the day, stagflation. Stagflation. All right, so stagflation is the combination of stagnation and inflation. Now, these are two things that never go together up until now. All right. So stagnation means that the economy is producing less stuff. The economy just isn't very active. It's not producing very much. And it's usually because of high unemployment. So stagnation means high unemployment, low production. Inflation is where the value of your money decreases. It's where the value of your money decreases. Normally, in a situation, you can only ever have one of these things. Because if the economy goes stagnant, then the value of money increases normally, right? But because of the oil in the 1970s, we have a situation where we have unemployment from the deindustrialization, and we also have inflation from the oil. We have stagflation, a brand new economic problem that nobody knows how to solve. Wah, wah. Yeah, so this is actually going to become kind of the reality through basically all of Jimmy Carter's presidency, and it's just going to dominate his presidency. And the result is we're going to get a rise in unemployment, a rise in unemployment, a rise in cost of everything, which means we're also going to get a rise in homelessness, and we're also going to get the highest crime rate the United States has seen since the Civil War. We're going to get a massive rise in crime rate, right? On top of that, we have all the cultural stuff that's going along, right? So we have women's rights groups that are making people scared. We have counterculture groups. We have like rock and roll. We have all this other cultural stuff going on. And we still have millions of veterans coming home from Vietnam, injured and looking for jobs and, you know, not doing so great. Yeah. All of this is combining to equal the fact that Jimmy Carter is a one-term president. He will not be reelected. Okay? All right. That's a good place to stop. There's a little bit of stuff left in the 1970s. So like the rise of conservatism. We're going to deal with some of the cultural stuff like abortion and stuff like that. But we're going to do that in the fourth quarter because those things contribute to the election of Reagan, and Reagan is the fourth quarter. So I'm putting that into the fourth quarter. So today is the last notes for the third quarter. And so on Canvas, if you take your pictures and submit it on Canvas, it's Q3N4. Q3N4 is it should be 5 days. This one is 5. This one is 5. The rest of them have all been 4, but this one is 5 days. But this one, the notes is worth 63 points, and the other ones were all worth 50 points. So it's 1 extra day. Cool. And submit them today, and it'll be good. It'll be good to go.
So what we're submitting is like, is it just all of the 1970s?
Yeah, it's basically everything from Nixon, basically. Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah.
It's from the election of Nixon to today.
Okay.
Yep.
Also, for the clothing drive, you don't take shoes, right?
Yeah, we can take shoes. We can take shoes. Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering because it's like clothing/fabric drive, and we're like, wait.
Yeah, so I asked them about that, and we can take shoes. They can also, they can take like leather and stuff too, because that was another one that came up. Like, can you take like leather and vinyl and stuff, right? Like non-traditional clothing. I'll take that stuff too. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I can take clothes. I can still take clothes donations until April 1st. I'm turning them
I
out.
have 3 in my car right now.
You have, okay. Give them to me on Monday since you're already home. Yeah. Give them to me on Monday. Cool?
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Stop.